Alright. Hello, Internet. This is another deck breakdown. In my continuing series, I'm calling, let's go with a deck measuring contest. So, I've had a couple of requests from people, not on YouTube yet because this is the first day I've put these up, but a couple of people on the Zapped and Squished Facebook group, on the Steve Jackson site, on the forums, and on the Buy Sell Trade group, also on Facebook, have asked about my gray deck. I made a completely gray deck utilizing the Flamingo Wanderer. You can use any of the gray Wanderers that you want because they all have the same effect. So it basically comes down to personal preference. If you have the oversized MIB Wanderer, you might want to use that for prestige purposes. He's a fun guy, but ask your local MIB for one of those. But the Flamingo Wanderer is whom I use because I like the art, and Blarg was the first full box I bought. I got a starter, I got a few boosters, and the first full box, when I realized it was an awesome game, I bought an entire box of Blarg, and it came with the Flamingo Wanderer. I have one Alpaca Wanderer, I have several Goldfish, I have the MIB, you know, there's a lot of gray Wanderers out there. Pick and choose, get what you want. But the breakdown of it is that I wanted to make a viable, completely gray deck. The only problem with that, normally, is that there are no gray mischiefs. Mischiefs are specific to each hero's color. And so that was the degree of difficulty. So far I have won one game and lost two by nail biters. They were just that close. So the deck has legs. It has abilities to it. I've tweaked it just a smidge from the list that's on the Zapped and Squished group. So if you saw it on there, then this is ever so slightly different. I changed a couple of cards. But the breakdown goes with I'll go with loot, and then I'll show off a couple of other things, the locations, the monsters, and just basically go into some of the strategies that I'm using to ameliorate the fact that we don't have mischiefs in a gray deck. So what you're going to go for first is Zap and Squish loot. To use those stars worth of, or levels worth of stars that you can have as kind of a springboard for things that you can throw. So to start out, I have 3 of the Shredder, which is normally just, you know, a good weapon. 2 attack, 1 defense, not bad. But if it's in your horde, Zap Squish this, target hired monster gains 2 for this fight, and you'll see why that's important later as well. So it is a quick Zap and Squish loot to surprise your enemy into more damage than I thought they were getting from Walking Dreads. Then you have your 0-star, the second aid kit, get rid of a beastie, basically just make it your problem next turn. But it, again, throws them off balance. The purple Ludus, a gold when you need it. 2 silver bullets, because it's extraordinarily powerful to just exile a card or 2 if you're getting the Honey Badger, if you're getting oh man, what are some other 2? The Ferrous Oxide monster. There's a few others. There's some powerful 2-life monsters out there. The Wounded Pride is huge, but it's weak because it has like 1 life, because you can kill it easily and it has regenerate. So if you, instead of killing it, let it live, suck up that 5 damage just once, it goes to the stash, you silver bullet it, it's gone for the rest of the game. I also have a Geek Stone, because it zaps fill 1 and then deal 1 damage to target stash monster. Again with the Wounded Pride, it only has 1 life. So this, in concert with this, you can now take down a 3 health monster permanently during the course of the game. Or if you use all 3 of them, 1/5. You can take care of those of the orcs or Vlarg or a couple others. But to be able to get rid of all of that, because then you can combine it with the Boots of Butt Kicking. Zap, deal 1 damage to target stash monster. So if you can get, you know, on 1 turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's gone. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the Bullrog is gone. So there's a lot of good combinations there. You would lose your silver bullets. Obviously, they're one-shot items, but you would still have your boots and your geek stone, and all it would cost you at that point is a card. But it's mostly based on like zap and squish loot and small loot. Don't have anything big. The Gamazin of Gambling can be extraordinarily useful in a pinch, because you're most likely going to avoid 1, you have a chance to avoid 2. And then the Velocipede, this is in Fashion Furious, this is one of my new cards. Zap your hero card, draw 1 card, then move 1 from your hand to the bottom of your deck. It's basically the thief power in a card. So it gives you the thief power with a Flamingo Wanderer, so you can use this and take 1 out of your discards, put it on the bottom of the deck, or you can do it this way and get it back that way, if you want to just draw it and deck. The Me Too Medallion, more draw effects, because if you're dealing in a lot of small loot, you're going to want a lot of draw effects. You're going to, if you're not careful, you're going to deck yourself very quickly with a gray deck. So keep an eye on that. And the last loot is the Big Baby Bandage, because it is so utility. You can just ignore all of those bleed effects that come out. So once it comes out, they can combo right at you all they want. They can skewer you all they want. I mean, it gives you initial damage, but you won't take the bleeding damage. Bleed it out. You don't have to pay gold for the bleed it out if they have a bard deck. You know, all that good stuff. So now we get into past loot. Get over there, loot. We're going to go to the locations that I have. Not very many, just like any deck. If you have more than 3 or 4 locations, you're kind of doing it wrong, because you're going to get them too often, except if you have the Inn of Improbable Routes. This deck has 2 lands, because I'll get to that in a little bit, but they have a very specific purpose. 2 lands and a School of Badassery. This comes out after you've done the thing that I'm going to tell you about with the land, and then this comes out, which makes all of your 1 gold monsters, of which there are many, super powerful. I mean, they increase by 1 gold, obviously, but then they become super powerful, plus 2 damage. They all become formidable at that point. So for about halfway through the game, put this out, it changes the strategy completely. But at the beginning of the game, you're going to need land out so you can get some extra gold, so you can just plink away at them. For monsters, these are alligators. I have 2 of them in this deck. This is the highest gold monster in this deck. And it's 2, just in case you can't see it. And the thing is, late game, this is going to become phenomenal. Yes, it's only 1 power and 2 life. However, it gains 1 power for each ally in play. Not just yours, each ally in play. This is your end game. You get these, you covet it, you don't put it out frivolously. If they haven't played you before, they won't know that you have them necessarily. So you keep those secret, keep them safe, because your bread and butter of this deck is going to be walking dreads. 3 of them. Because he regenerates, and he just plinks away. You put 1 gold on it, they're going to say, oh, I can take 1, and then Walking Dreads comes out. You Zap Squish a Shredder, that makes him 3. School of Badassery is out, that makes him 5. 5 for 2. And so, if you have all your Dreads out, even if they kill him, because he's only 1 life, then you regenerate, he keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. You will nickel and dime him to death. And the used card dealer, this is utility, in case any of your strategy cards gets taken away, they kill your alligator early or make you spill it, then you get to go get him back with the used card dealer. I only had 1 to spare, I might try to find room for another. The Wombo Bat, I do have a bleed effect or 2 in here. So the Wombo Bat comes in handy because he gets extra if someone is bleeding. That's kind of an expendable card, that's optional. The Goblin Kaboomer is great because he's a one-shot wonder, but he does a large amount of damage early on in the game. So if you get him early, go ahead and use him. Goldfinch. 1 gold for 2 damage. He's very good. He does give your opponent a gold, but it gives you 1 too. And then for those annoying locations that come into play, your epic loot, the well, I guess the Inhumane Society would be infinitely helpful against you, or with you. If your opponent puts out the Inhumane Society and you're playing this deck, you could just win. I mean, you could just go, that was fun, we'll play again. But I have 2 Building Inspectors to squish target location. It makes locations go away, and it can throw them off balance, because if somebody is relying on a location to make something cheaper or to make something more expensive for you, something like that, that can blow their whole strategy off course. I have 2 Land War Elves. This is what I was talking about. That's why there's 2 land in here. If you're cycling cards, so you have less of a discard deck pile pretty much all the time, all of your cards are going to be live in the deck for the most part, unless something seriously bad happens with discarding cards, or the Deco-Gorgon makes you spill 6, something like that. You're going to be cycling a lot of your cards. So when that happens, they're all going to be on the bottom unless you get some shuffle effects. There's a lot of shuffle effects in this deck. The Land War Elf helping with that, because you go find land, you then shuffle your deck, and then you continue on as normal. And then if you want, when you put land back out, there's another land in there, so you can play another Land War Elf, shuffle again, stuff like that. So whenever you cycle a card to the bottom of your deck, you might want that card back. So you shuffle, make sure it's somewhere, not make sure, I'm sorry, it's now somewhere that's not on the bottom probably, so you have a better chance of drawing it. Bodyguard, that's utility, just in case you don't get that big baby bandage till later. Barbarian the Librarian. We're getting into allies here, sorry. Those aren't monsters. But Bodyguard, Barbarian the Librarian, again, draw effects. You're going to need to draw a lot of cards. Make Overlord, also good for bleed effects if you don't get the big baby bandage, and Bodyguard's already dead. This is again from Fashion Furious, so go to your friendly local game store, get some Fashion Furious, maybe ask if they have promos. There is an alt art promo version of this card. The Mercenaries, it goes with the beefing up small items to be bigger when they didn't expect it. So Mercenaries plus the Shredder equals a bigger weapon when you commit it to a combat. The Red Tunic, I got 2 of those because they're going to have mischiefs even though you don't. If you're in a Bard deck, Trollolol is drawing dead. You're not going to have any mischiefs, they're just drawing those cards dead. But if they draw anything else that does direct damage to you, or gets rid of your monsters, or fire, no, fire doesn't affect you. Yeah, there's a few other things in there, but Kaboom! Kaboom does 5 damage directly to you, so Red Tunic would take that, he would die horribly, and you would still have those 5 life. The Sword Caddy, again with the shuffle effects. It lets you flip 3, look for a weapon, might not find one, doesn't matter, that's not what you have him for. You have him for the specific purpose of shuffle effects. You get to shuffle your deck, so you're cycling cards, you shuffle, you get stuff back. And then finally, 3 Bobs, because Bob is hilarious. He's XX, X being the number of Bobs already in play. So the first one is free, and then Bob number 2 costs 1, and then Bob number 3 costs 2, and then the first one has 1 life when he comes out, because once he comes out there's a Bob in play. So 1, and then they'll both have 2, and then they'll all have 3. So Bob becomes fairly powerful as it goes along. However, you might be seeing this strategy here. This means that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 allies in this deck. If you put out an alligator and you have even half of these out, let's say you have 5 allies out, they've killed a couple of them, you haven't drawn a couple of them, whatever, but you have 5 allies out, and maybe they have 2, so that's 7. The alligator gets 1 power for every ally in play. 7 plus 1 is 8. That's your end game. If you're lucky enough to draw both of those and have them in your hand, at turn 6 or 7, you have the gold to spare, you win. I mean, that's 8 and 8. Boom, dead. I mean, that's 16. If you've done anything the last several turns, then they are just down and out. They're not going to expect you to have 2 of them. Again, this assumes that you're playing against someone who doesn't know what's in the deck. So, those are the strategies I have for my gray deck. That's all 40 cards there. The linchpins being nickel and dimes. Nickels and dimes, nickels and dimes. I call this the nickel and dime gray deck. You put it all together, you have a fairly powerful deck that can actually stand up against any hero deck. It was a challenge being able to create a gray deck with no mischiefs, and make it be competitive. So tell me what you think. What would you do? Would you change it? Would you try to make a big monster deck out of it? Would you try to make something with a lot of loot? Something with fewer allies? I don't know. Just tell me about it. Tell me in the comments down here. And be sure to like, share, favorite, subscribe, pay it forward, send us money, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next time.